Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, y'all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought that I would review this little video that I personally found very particularly interesting. Anyways, I released a video, all in all, not too long ago, either last weekend or maybe it was this Monday. I can't necessarily remember, but sometime I believe within the past 4 or 5 days, somewhere around there, I ended up reacting to a video by the boxing channel named Boxing Ego. And a lot of the times I do end up reviewing certain videos from other channels. That way, in my view, I may be able to expose certain narratives or talk about certain conversations that I find very particularly interesting. I also do a certain amount of videos where I just do my own commentary as well, at least overall without reviewing videos. But a lot of the times I also, of course, review videos for those of you that may be newer here, of course, to make the conversation at times a little bit more debatable, and on top of that, to make it a little bit more particularly interesting to get other people's points of view and to react to them, to give my certain opinion, overall my analyzation on the subject. But anyways, for those of you, of course, that know, has been one of the main conversations around boxing as of right now. Terence Bud Crawford, of course, had his most recent fight in a tune-up fight against David Avanesian. Not really a fighter that, in my opinion, was really that special. Maybe a certain amount of you seen it. I believe it was on Black TV or Black Prime TV, whatever the hell the pay-per-view channel was. I personally didn't bother getting it or even looking it up because I thought that it was such a poor matchup. And not that I don't like watching Terence Crawford. Terence Bud Crawford is one of my favorite fighters to watch. He's a phenomenal fighter, or at least a phenomenal talent. But I think that it's finally time for him to get in the ring with a fighter that, in my opinion, more than likely can handle what he brings to the table. And the only fighter, at least at the current moment in time, especially within that weight class, that I believe that can truly do that is going to be Errol Spence Jr. Not really blaming everything that has happened necessarily on him, but I do think that Terence Bud Crawford could have made certain better decisions at certain times. But anyways, Boxing Eagle, of course, for those of you that know that channel, very decently big channel overall within the boxing community. He made a video overall about Terence Bud Crawford's gloves. And for those of you that don't know the situation, apparently Terence Bud Crawford, in the middle of the fight, I don't really know if this was in the last round or whatever round it may be, but Eagle was actually a little bit concerned about Terence Bud Crawford's gloves. And the reason why that is because apparently Crawford's gloves bust somewhat open, or they bust up a little bit, and apparently the fight was continued to fight on. Now, in my opinion, probably should the gloves have been replaced? Maybe, but I'm also not the commissioner. I'm also not the referee, and whoever overall inspected the gloves. I'm not really the person that inspected them. Maybe there wasn't enough damage really to stop the fight. Now, I probably would have, and I probably would have replaced the gloves. But at the same time, if there was not enough damage, maybe you don't want to change a certain amount of circumstances. But of course, one also could argue that Terence Bud Crawford, that maybe the team should have had a backup pair of gloves, and maybe they did. I don't know. I'd have to do a little bit more research in that regard. But anyways, overall, pretty much what some of the channels, what I predicted them to do, they did exactly overall what I thought that they were going to do, depending on the channel when it came down to it. I said that some would not mainly talk about it when it came to Terence Bud Crawford. That is mainly, at least the channels that I predicted overall would happen. They would not talk about it. And in my opinion, I don't think that there was really anything that bad with Terence Bud Crawford's gloves. I don't think that, in my opinion, that he was cheating. I don't think that he really has been cheating. Why do I believe that Boxing Ego brought up that subject? I think it's because, and there's no offense against Mr. Ego, but I think that he has a little bit of a problem with Terence Bud Crawford. Once again, I'll give Boxing Ego this. At least he's consistent. When he blamed Tyson Fury, he also blamed Terence Bud Crawford. That's overall more than I can say for certain channels that I've seen that have not kept that same energy, like an AKHi TV, Dante's Boxing Nation, or Blue Blood Sports TV. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, once again, I find it very particularly interesting. And like I said in my video, it's going to be very interesting to see how certain channels or certain people, when they were all gung ho to talk about the Tyson Fury glove gate, allegedly overall him cheating with Deontay Wilder, and they were so interested in gathering all this evidence. But then when it came to the Terence Bud Crawford apparent glove gate, overall, they're not going to talk about it, or they're going to say that it clearly overall is nothing to worry about, which is pretty much what I expected from them. But it is what it is. Anyways, I'm going to talk about it. We're going to review a video by AKHi TV here. Should be very interesting. Let's get straight into it.
Breaking news of Everlast confirming exactly what went wrong with Terence Bud Crawford gloves during the David Evanasian fight, where Everlast took full responsibility of everything that took place. Here is exactly what Everlast had to say. Check it out.
We take safety and performance seriously. As the leader in professional boxing equipment, it is ever more important that we ensure the necessary steps are in place to review our product development process and the integrity of our gloves. This process includes close scrutiny of all materials used and construction methods employed in the production of our professional competition gloves. Our top priority is to ensure that every fighter who uses our products has a safe and secure experience. During the development cycle of the custom fight gloves used in Crawford vs. Avanesian, a batch of defective leather was used in production, resulting in a malfunction during the competition. In such cases, Everlast follows proper protocol by providing backup competition pairs to be replaced pending a decision by the sanctioning body overseeing the fight. A stoppage was called to review the equipment malfunction, and the commission deemed the equipment was still suitable for competition.
This came just in time. Biden just signed the Inflation Reduction Act live on TV, so if you're...
No foul play was at hand, nor was there any tampering of the product on behalf of Terence Crawford and his camp. In addition to the steps we are taking now, Everlast has long had rigorous quality control procedures in place for all of our equipment, including gloves. We use only premium-grade materials and tested construction methods which meet or exceed all standards set by regulatory bodies. As part of this process, each batch of gloves undergoes extensive inspections prior to being shipped out. This ensures that only quality products reach boxers and other athletes who depend on us for their safety and performance. Further, Everlast understands that athletes should not be held responsible for defective gear. That's why we offer an unconditional guarantee on all products sold directly through our online store or via an authorized dealer. This guarantees that any defective items can be returned or replaced in a timely manner, so there are no disruptions to an athlete's training regimen. At Everlast, we take great pride in producing top-notch boxing equipment and apparel with safety as our highest priority. We remain committed to providing athletes with the best possible gear available so they can perform at their peak capabilities without worry or risk of injury due to faulty equipment.
So Everlast clarified what went wrong, which was a batch of defective leather that was used in the production of the gloves, which resulted in the malfunction during the competition. And that had nothing to do with Crawford. But more...
Well, how do we 100% know that? At least if we were going to go into quote-unquote detective mode and be like what AKHi TV usually does, and he gonna solve it like puzzle. That's what he usually says. How come overall we're not doing any investigation here? Once again, sometimes I get these new guys on my channel and they say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. These channels that you review, overall, you're just trying to bring them down, you know, they don't have a racial issue. No, yes, they do. And the reason overall, once again, why they tried to tear down Tyson Fury so much overall, once again, is because they don't want him to be looked at as one of the top pound-for-pound fighters. They don't want him to be remembered as a great fighter. And that's why every single time that he is talked about, they tear him down at every single turn. But ESPN overall, or excuse me, not ESPN, but Everlast just saying that it potentially could have been defective leather. Well, doesn't that mean all in all that potentially that there was something wrong with the gloves? Now, in my opinion, I probably don't think that there's much substance to it. I don't think that more than likely that Terence Bud Crawford was cheating with the gloves. But I just find it very interesting that AKHi TV pretty much just dismisses it immediately. But when it came to Tyson Fury, a fighter that he pretty much was looking to tear down from the get-go, pretty much any excuse, even when it made no valid sense or logical sense whatsoever, it pretty much was exactly allowed to go on his channel. I just found that very interesting. But anyway.
So Everlast, as Everlast took full responsibility and blame of everything that took place. In addition to that, Everlast explained during the fight the reason why they didn't change the gloves, even though they had the replacement second pair, was due to the commission ruling that the gloves were still suitable for competition, since the padding at the knuckle area was not...
And if you take a look at Terence Bud Crawford's gloves right there, they look overall a little bit maneuverable. They look like a pair of gloves overall that might be made out of horsehair. Now, I would have to look at which specific pair of gloves those are, but those don't necessarily look like 100% gel foam padding. And what some people don't understand about certain gloves is that there may be certain padding, especially if you have horsehair gloves, to where certain padding may look like it's getting maneuvered. Now, is there certain fighters to where they will maneuver or they have maneuvered padding around before in order overall to make their knuckles maybe hit the face, and so a little bit of cheating or dirty tactics going on there. Yes, that's happened plenty of times. And then of course you have certain people like Antonio Margarito who do it on a completely whole nother level. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to do I believe that Terence Bud Crawford more than likely was cheating? No, I don't. To me, it didn't look like anything was really out of the gloves. It didn't look like overall that his knuckles were showing anything like that. It didn't look like any padding was removed when it came down to it. To me, it didn't look like anything was super fishy with the gloves. Just at times, I do believe that gloves sometimes that they can break down, whether it's just a bad batch and perhaps they didn't know it or whatever it may be. Or sometimes, gloves just may, they may combust. It just is what it is. It's not the first time it's happened in a fight. Probably won't be the last. Does it usually happen? No. But in my opinion, is this anything, at least in my view, to cause a high rate for alarm? No. But really, the Tyson Fury one wasn't either. And the reason why that is because I didn't really see any solid evidence for that one either. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later on too.
In effect.
However, what I will say is this, once again, for those of you that remember the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder case, for those of you that remember all the pictures that they shown, which in my opinion, quite frankly, I did not think a lot of them were real, at least overall with the way that they were completely dented in. There's certain photos overall to where boxing gloves may look a little bit dented or they may overall look a little bit malformed. That's just going to be normal, especially for certain boxing gloves, because sometimes the padding, once again, especially if you have horsehair or it's different, different overall from that of a foam gel, it can be a little bit maneuverable. Once again, as you can see with Terence Bud Crawford's gloves here, that doesn't look overall like gel foam. That more than likely looks like horsehair, but I can't necessarily 100% guarantee you that. Now, the pictures that they shown against Tyson Fury, do I believe that the gloves were that flat against Deontay Wilder? No, I don't. And I've taken a look at the highlights. I've taken a look at the fight a million times, and never once when I've screenshotted it, when I've paused it, when I've taken a look at the fight, never once have I ever seen Tyson Fury's gloves ever look like that in the boxing fight against Deontay Wilder. And that's why you'll never see any new pictures from AKHi TV or any of these channels saying, look, you know what, you can see it at this point in time in the fight for yourself. They only can rely on those pictures, which in my opinion more than likely are fraudulent, because at the end of the day, there's no real evidence that Tyson Fury actually removed padding out of the glove or that his knuckle was showing or any of this other bullshit. But anyway.
Therefore, there was no foul play on Crawford's behalf, nor was there any tampering with his gloves. Furthermore, I got flooded with people wanting me to talk about Crawford so-called cheating, right? But the irony of it all, majority of these...
Well, you were talking so much shit and trying to discredit Mr. Tyson Fury, AKHi TV, and apparently you're out for the whole truth and for justice, which, for those of us that truly know overall what's going on, we all know you're not. It is what it is. Once again, AKHi TV is just your regular fanboy, just like Dante or just like any of these other channels that are extremists. It is what it is. That's all new media is, and I don't have a problem with all of them, but a lot of them all know when it comes down to, once again, they're extremists. They have a very big emotional issue, and a lot of the times they have a very biased double standard. The only boxing channels that I really would ever 100% recommend would be Hatman Strikes Back, Boxing Wave, and maybe a couple of other ones out there. Those would really be the main two.
People that sent me these messages.
And the reason why that is because I can see that when they talk about situations, that the majority of the time they have a good head on their shoulders, that they're decently logical and sound, and on top of that, they don't have an emotional issue and standard whenever it comes into certain fights.
Are the same people that was defending Tyson Fury, which is the ultimate hypocrisy.
Like, take a look at that glove right there. Now, there's certain times to where a glove may look a little bit crinkled up, but if you take a look at the other glove and compare it to that glove, now, of course, it is possible that maybe overall they took more padding out of one glove, but once again, this is allegedly the second fight. Go ahead and take a look at the second fight for me. Go ahead and take a look when it comes down to it, and this is apparently a picture. Now, some people have argued to me that overall that the picture apparently that maybe it can capture certain things that the video can't. But I'm not necessarily sure if I'm believing that, because if you take a look overall at the fight, once again, take a look at the whole fight for yourself. If that is allegedly Tyson Fury's knuckles, that would mean that a lot of the paddings would apparently be out of the glove. You also know another thing that they alleged, apparently there was an egg weight in there as well. And it had to have been the right hand. So once again, I've already talked about this. The reason why they claim that Tyson Fury had an egg weight in his glove in the first place was because Deontay Wilder allegedly had this dent in his head, which he never really did. I've already talked about that a dozen times as well. It was really just swelling around the ear that made it look like there was a dent in his head. But Tyson Fury allegedly had this egg weight. Then at one point in time, apparently he removed padding overall. Then apparently he moved his hand lower into the glove. So the amount of excuses and contradictory, it really overall was just absolutely insane.
If you ask,
So my question is once again, and I still never really get any answers here from these guys that claim overall that Tyson Fury cheated in this fight. If you truly believe that there was an egg weight in there, if that there was a dent, then why apparently can we see Tyson Fury's knuckles in the right glove? Because apparently, according to some of these guys, overall there was a dent in Deontay Wilder's head, and it had to have been caused from an egg weight. So if there was an egg weight in there, and it had to have been the right hand because the dent apparently was in Deontay Wilder's left side of his face. So it couldn't have been Tyson Fury's left hand, had it been his right hand that did the damage when it came down to it. So at the end of the day, why can we see Tyson Fury's knuckles here allegedly if apparently he had an egg weight in the glove? Can someone ask me that question? I've still never gotten an answer to that to this day. Never.
me, especially when you factor in the difference between Tyson Fury and Crawford. Essentially, it's night and day. On one
Actually, no, it's not really that night and day at all because there was nothing really that fishy with Tyson Fury's gloves. And this was another point overall that people tried to make about Tyson Fury to where they said that this is when he put his hand lower into the glove. That technique, first of all, would not be useful whatsoever when it comes down to it. And people overall who are talking about that, they really don't know shit about boxing overall, or they're just trying to sell you something. Because at the end of the day, no boxer in the history, at least from what I know, has ever put their hand lower into the glove and the punch is actually effective. There's no way. On top of that, the glove would be very, 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 very loose. Very loose, almost to the point of being basically falling off. But when you throw certain punches, even though I don't think that Tyson Fury's wrist is at a total 90-degree angle, there are certain guys to where their wrist can extend a little bit more than others. Now, it's not going to extend, always at a 90-degree angle. But when you're throwing a punch, especially at full capacity, your wrist overall might be extending or it might be stretching a little bit more overall normally than what it would be in a regular circumstance when it comes down to, and on top of that, if you take a look at the glove, with the glove size, it makes it look like it's at a 90-degree angle, but it really isn't. So once again, there was really nothing overall to be cause for alarm here. And by the way, if you also take a look at a video after this punch happens, after he hits it in the face with Deontay Wilder, you can clearly see Tyson Fury's thumb and his fingers clinch in the top part of the glove. So once again, this has already been debunked.
and Tyson Fury has a history of cheating, where he got tested positive for steroids, then got suspended for 2 years. That's a fact. Tyson Fury cheated.
Well, Tyson Fury, once again, I do believe that it is very possible that he was on steroids. Excuse me. As I believe that it's very possible that a lot of these fighters are on steroids. But once again, if you're going to make the allegations about the gloves, no, I'm sorry, I really can't go overall on that allegation. And I had this one person ask me not too long ago, you said, well, you apparently said that you don't believe that Tyson Fury cheated, but then you also state that you believe that he, potentially could have been on steroids. So, you're saying that really he did cheat. So overall, what you're saying is that the Deontay Wilder fight didn't count. Well, at the end of the day, if you want to use the steroids overall to not give Tyson Fury credit, that's up to you. I don't know overall if I'm going to go that far once again, because that means that I would have to discredit and discount every fighter that has ever been caught on a PED. So that means that Shane Mosley, or every fighter that I think all in all more than likely was probably on some sort of PEDs, even though I think the majority of them are on them anyway. So that means that Manny Pacquiao, that a lot of his career, in my opinion, probably would not count. Juan Manuel Marquez, overall, a little bit of Roy Jones Jr. When it comes down to it, I even believe that at one point in time, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker might have been caught on something. Sugar Shane Mosley, Canelo Alvarez. Can I really do that with all those fighters? I'm not necessarily so sure. And if we want to go into other sports, John Jones, when it comes down to it, TJ Dillashaw, and a certain amount of these other fighters, can I really 100% discredit all those fighters when more than likely at least 75% of these other athletes are more than likely on something as well? I'm not so sure if I can do that. Anyway.
Is not up for debate. In addition to that, Fury had multiple manipulation incidents. On the other hand,
this is another case overall that they tried to talk about to where if you know shit about boxing, you can easily discredit this. This is another reason why I wanted to review this video. AKHi TV, and this was in the Christian Hammer fight. This was when Tyson Fury, at least I believe it was in the Christian Hammer fight. I can't necessarily remember. Anyways, you can look it up. But Dante and AKHi TV and a certain amount of these channels, they tried to basically spoon feed you this bullshit that Tyson Fury allegedly did not have his hand into the glove when it came down to it. When really all the problem was that the little strap overall that's supposed to connect the thumb to the rest of the hand and the rest of the fingers overall to that part of the glove, it was not connected. And the reason why that needs to be connected once again is because usually overall when that's disconnected, a fighter at times can usually use that to maneuver maybe that thumb into someone's eye, maybe in the clinch or something else overall like that, or maybe stick it out and poke it in their eye, which could cause exponential damage, and which I believe is an illegal technique. So that's the reason overall why that needed to be replaced. But the fight overall was not started, I believe, until the glove overall was replaced. So there really was no story there. But what AKHi TV and Dante overall tried to spoon feed you is that apparently Tyson Fury's hand was not all the way in the glove, which is a bunch of horse shit overall. But they're going to try to sell you that once again because they want to make you believe that Tyson Fury, that he's just this person overall who has no authentic wins.
Crawford has never cheated.
And once again, I find it very particularly interesting, and I've already brought this up a million times. They never brought this up until they knew that Deontay Wilder could not beat Tyson Fury. In the first fight, they were all about Tyson Fury. They loved him overall once again because he was not the enemy number one. They did not think that he was the main threat. I keep telling people this. These channels overall, they don't like certain fighters like David Benavidez and certain fighters overall like a Josh Taylor unless they believe overall that they have some use. And you notice overall with Josh Taylor, who allegedly was this top 5 pound-for-pound fighter after he unified 140. That's what AKHi TV and Dante's Boxing Nation were saying. They were saying that Josh Taylor was this top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. All of a sudden now that Josh Taylor, all of a sudden he's not unified anymore, and he didn't look that great against Jack Catterall, and he doesn't really have that much use to them anymore. All of a sudden, Josh Taylor, not only is he not top 5, he's not even on their top 10. The only reason why Josh Taylor was in the top 5 in the first place is because they thought that later on he could have some use for them. If he were to face Terence Crawford or Earl Spence Jr., they knew that Josh Taylor more than likely was going to lose to them. But if they claimed that Josh Taylor was a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter, and if one of those guys beat Josh Taylor, they could say, wow, take a look at this. He beat a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. Can Canelo and some of these other guys and Tyson Fury, can they say that? Take a look at what they're doing compared to these guys. That's the only reason why they're using Josh Taylor overall in that way. And now that they have other fighters that they want to promote to the top, like a Devin Haney, and don't get me wrong, some of these fighters overall deserve to be promoted to the top because they have the accomplishments and they have the resume and overall they have the skills. But now that you have more fighters overall on the pound-for-pound list that they want to be on there, that can potentially be on there, Black American fighters like Jamel Charlo and Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney, they don't even have Josh Taylor on the list anymore. They don't have him on there at all. So once again, I keep telling people this, a lot of the shit that they say, they really don't even truly believe in the first place. And you can truly tell what they believe and what they don't. And it all, once again, as the saying goes, what doesn't come out in the, overall, what doesn't come out in the rinse comes out in the wash. So it'll overall be very, very interesting. At least I believe that's how the saying goes. Never used it that much, but overall heard it from a couple people. But anyways, overall, once again, I find that very particularly interesting. And the same thing will happen with David Benavidez and some of the other guys that will lose their use.
Nor he will ever will.
But once again, the reason why Tyson Fury, the reason overall why eventually he lost his use is because they were so on Tyson Fury overall. They were for Tyson Fury when him and Deontay Wilder fought. AKHi TV and Dante's Boxing Nation and all these channels, they were all for Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. They said, wow, these are the 2 best heavyweights in the world going at it. And they thought that Deontay Wilder had this fight in the bag. They thought that Deontay Wilder was going to knock Tyson Fury out. That's the reason why they spoke about him so positively. But as soon as Tyson Fury ended up beating Deontay Wilder, as soon as he ended up getting a draw, which in my opinion was a fight that Tyson Fury probably clearly should have won, all of a sudden the tides completely turned. And then all of a sudden they were saying, oh, well, Tyson Fury, he really ain't that good. He has pillow fists and all this other stuff. And Deontay, he's going to stop him within 6 rounds. But then when Tyson Fury beat him in the rematch, that's when the hatred came for Tyson Fury, because then they said, uh-oh, we created a monster, and now overall we really can't go back. Because now Tyson Fury, he's a little bit better than what we first expected. Now we just created this Frankenstein monster, and now overall he's going to be looked at as the best in the division.
And why would Crawford needs to cheat?
And once again, when it comes down to the reason why they were using Tyson Fury in the first place is to promote Deontay Wilder over Anthony Joshua. That was the reason why. But anyway.
To knock out David when he could beat this guy in his sleep. It ain't like Crawford fought a Deontay Wilder type of an opponent. You guys even said this was a cherry pick. However, you guys really believe Crawford needs to cheat to beat David and go as far as tampering with his gloves to knock out.
Well, I don't really believe, excuse me, I don't really believe that Terence Crawford cheated, but once again, AKHi TV pretty much did exactly what I thought he was going to do. And once again, he can do whatever he wants. That's his business. But once again, whenever I see something that, in my opinion, needs to be checked, then overall I check it. It is what it is. And you're not going to be spreading these bullshit narratives when it comes down to about Tyson Fury allegedly cheating when it comes down to when really there's no evidence whatsoever. So once again, certain people that come on my channel and they say, oh, you're just doing nothing overall but clout chasing and you're trying to tear them down. Well, basically, what their career is based off of is tearing down certain fighters that they don't like by whatever means necessary. These are the same channels that tear down Canelo Alvarez on a certain basis, even spreading certain lies. And same thing about Tyson Fury. Or even some other channels with the LDBC, they'll tear down Terence Crawford. They'll tear down certain other fighters overall that they don't tend to like. So anyway.
David, a fighter that has already been knocked out before. I mean, let's not act like Crawford doesn't have one-punch knockout power. In fact, Crawford has knocked out his last 10 opponents, and they all better than David. From Sean Porter, Kell Brook, Jeff Horn, Benavidez, and even Mean Machine, the same guy who knocked out David. So it ain't like Crawford has never had power, and all of a sudden he had power overnight when he fought David.
Right, but if you're trying to make that same comparison with the Tyson Fury case, that's not really it with the Tyson Fury case either. You see, with the people overall with the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder thing, what they'll try to allege is that Tyson Fury had this power overnight against Deontay Wilder, which is not what happened. Deontay Wilder was hurt in every single fight against Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, they try to act like he was like the heavyweight version of Paulie Malignaggi. What Tyson Fury was overall, he was a guy that has 30-something fights within his career and about 20-something knockouts. That's not a guy that has no power. Tyson Fury, on top of that, is a guy that has about an 83 to 84-inch reach or whatever long reach he has. On top of that, he's about 270, 280 pounds. Of course, the punches that he hits you with is going to hurt. He's a heavy and he's a built dude. And on top of that, he knows how to punch. He knows how to overall punch straight. He knows how to get around certain angles. And he's a big guy.
Nevertheless, all of that really don't matter at this point because Everlast came out and confirmed that Terence Bud Crawford is innocent of any foul play. Where they address.
Well, maybe Everlast is protecting him, Aki. Maybe it's a big conspiracy. Maybe it's because Terence Bud Crawford overall. Maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe Everlast has a deal with ESPN. I don't know. Maybe they're protecting him. Once again, if this were a fighter overall of Lomachenko or Tyson Fury, once again, this is not me stating that certain double standards do not happen against black fighters either. But once again, overall, it just gets so obnoxious when it comes to a channel like AKHi TV because he was talking so much shit on a fighter like Tyson Fury with no evidence whatsoever. No actual evidence whatsoever. But then when it comes to a fighter that he's been trying to claim as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter or someone overall that he really wants to be on the pound-for-pound list, all of a sudden he completely dismisses it. If this were a Tyson Fury or someone else that he did not like, he would say that Everlast is protecting them. But anyway.
That's the reason why Crawford gloves busted during the fight was due to a batch of defective leather that was used in production for the gloves, which is
if you take a look at my most recent video, when you take a look at the thumbnail, at the bottom right, I believe overall, you can take a look at Terence Bud Crawford's gloves. There looks like overall that there's a little bit of an indentation there as well. Now, sometimes, once again, that just happens with gloves. Sometimes that just happens once again because you may have horsehair gloves or you may have gloves overall that may be a little bit more malleable or a little bit more maneuverable when it comes down to it, but that doesn't always mean that someone is cheating. Anyway.
Thing that they are taking full responsibility and blame for. And that's ultimately the main difference between Tyson Fury and Terence Crawford Glovegate. You guys see how quick Everlast came out to clarify exactly what went wrong in the Terence Crawford fight. In few days, Everlast came out with a statement explaining everything. On the other hand, Tyson Fury Glove Company never came out with a statement till this day, even after Deontay Wilder complained himself. Tyson Fury Glovegate was the biggest thing in boxing for an entire year. Matter of fact,
Now, once again, take a look at these pictures and you go ahead and watch the highlights. Overall, do a favor for me. I still have never gotten a response to this day. Overall, go ahead and take a look overall at that last picture with apparently overall. Here, we'll rewind it. We'll take a look at those alleged knuckles when it comes down to it. Take a look at the fight overall for yourself and you tell me if you see the gloves look anything like that throughout the whole entire fight. And hey, I'll tell you what, if you can find the picture, if you can find the screenshot, overall, comment it down in the comment section. I'll give you my email. Overall, you can email me, and then I'll make a video about it. Still have not gotten a response from any Deontay Wilder fan to this day.
for 2 years, with a statement till this day, even after Deontay Wilder complained himself. Tyson Fury Glovegate was the biggest thing in boxing for an entire year. Matter of fact,
it was the biggest thing in boxing overall for all the LDBC and new media channels who were butthurt that overall Deontay Wilder, who they wanted to be the new Malcolm X, overall the new savior overall for black people. And once again, certain people are going to get offended by that, but it is what it is. They took a look at Deontay Wilder overall as their hero. They took it way, way, way too far. And you're not supposed to, that's why overall you're not supposed to put any racial motivation overall in the sports. That's why you're really not supposed to be a big fanboy in the first place, because you end up looking like an idiot like this guy. Anyway.
For 2 years, and Tyson Fury Glove Company never said anything.
So AKHi TV's logic overall is because Tyson Fury's company never came out with a statement that they're immediately guilty. So basically what that means overall in AKHi TV's mind is that if there's an allegation overall against someone, let's say overall that someone alleges that this person overall raped a woman, if that person never responds to it overall when it comes down to it, or at least their advisor, even though overall there really isn't any evidence, that must mean overall that something's going on. Anyway.
You wonder why.
And sometimes that may mean that something is going on, but sometimes that also may mean that, all in all, that there's really no reason to respond to it. Anyway.
That is, well, the answer is simple. Tyson Fury Glove Company couldn't explain why in the first fight with Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury left glove was bending in 90 degrees, which is not physically possible. And in the second fight with Deontay Wilder, how come we could see Tyson Fury bare knuckles printed on Fury right gloves? So because Baffin Sports couldn't explain how Tyson Fury left glove was bending in 90 degrees in the first fight, and how in the second fight we could see Tyson Fury bare knuckles printed on the right gloves, Baffin Sports said absolutely nothing, unlike Everlast, since they didn't have an explanation or proof of anything. And that's not the only thing we don't have an explanation for. We also don't have an explanation for when Tyson Fury tested positive for steroids and bribed a man to lie in court, how all of a sudden Crawford came out and said that his life is on the line and he has been threatened, then immediately dropped all of his statements when it came to Tyson Fury bribing him to lie in court, where the 70 years old Crawford admitted, I didn't want to die with guilt. I told the truth, but I'm receiving too many threats, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
You didn't want to die with guilt. What I'll say is this: if Tyson Fury, all in all, did end up taking steroids when it came down to with with alleged boar meat or whatever the hell ends up happening when it comes down to it, do I believe that Martin Crawford, let's just say if he was involved, more than likely that he did it because he didn't want to die of guilt? bullshit. More than likely, I don't know if Tyson Fury was overall doing some sort of PEDs when it comes down to it. More than likely, he was getting certain payments, and either A, he wasn't getting certain payments anymore, or overall something else was happening. And more than, it's very possible that he could have threatened to sue. So it is very possible that Tyson Fury at one point in time, or even now, could be on some sort of PEDs. But I can't really prove that overall without a definitive doubt.
And we already know what time it is with Tyson Fury and who he associates himself with, Daniel Canahan. That's why
That's right, Aki. And you know who else associates with Daniel Canahan, or however the hell you pronounce his name? Terence Bud Crawford. And that's actually a fact that Boxing Ego actually overall ended up bringing up, and something that you did not end up bringing up. So I don't really know overall how you let that slip. Very interesting.
Tyson Fury is banned to come to the United States. But the crazy part, Tyson Fury relinquished his license.
Tyson Fury is banned to come to the United States, but he just fought in the United States last year. Anyway, now maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's a more recent ban. I don't know. Anyway.
In the UK, due to the wild boar Carrefour incident. However, some way, somehow, Fury has already fought twice in the UK since then. Just to show the corruption in the sport of boxing is super real. It's like the wild, wild west instead of a sport. But these are the stories that old media won't cover. Instead, these are the same exact stories that they will bury. All because Tyson Fury has the complexion for the connection to get the ultimate protection. Last but not least, notice how Crawford received a lot of backlash for fighting David in a stay busy fight, even though he tried to fight Errol Spence and negotiated with Errol for 5 months in order to make that fight come to fruition. Crawford also tried to fight Jamel Charlo and Virgil Ortiz, but they are the ones that...
Well, does Terence Bud Crawford, did he really try to fight Jamel Charlo, or did he overall really just talk a lot of shit on Twitter like what he regularly does, and then really did overall, and he took no actions really to make that fight happen? I mean, just no offense against Terence Bud Crawford. I love him as a fighter. But at the end of the day, the man overall has been barking for a very, very long time and has done no action. It just is what it is. I mean, it even took him a lot to get into the Sean Porter fight. So, listen, I like Terence Bud Crawford, but at the end of the day, when I take a look at these negotiations and why they fell apart, at the end of the day, I do have to blame a little bit more on Terence Bud Crawford. And once again, he is going to have to accept most of the stipulations against Errol Spence Jr. in the next fight. And I don't want to hear any of this shit about how apparently Terence Bud Crawford deserves a 50-50 split. Because if Terence believes that he's getting a 50-50 split, that's not going to happen. Anyway.
Didn't want to fight him, so Crawford had to stay busy. On the other hand, Tyson Fury ducks the Usyk undisputed fight. He also ducked Joe Joyce to fight Derek Chisora, a fighter with 13 losses. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 13 losses, who's not even ranked on the top 10. To make matters worse,
well, I agree that the Derek Chisora fight overall was not the best fight. But once again, I'm not really going to claim that Fury ducked anybody, because Fury has shown me in the past overall that he usually has always fought the best of the best eventually. And you always, notice once again when it comes to a fighter that he does not like a Fury or a Canelo or someone else overall like that, it's apparently a cherry pick, it's a duck. But when it comes overall to Terence Bud Crawford facing someone that really had no business even being in the ring with him, and I'm not saying that Chisora had any business being in the ring with Fury, apparently when it comes to fighters that he likes, it's a stay busy fight. But when it comes to fighters that he doesn't like, it's a cherry pick.
Fighter that Tyson Fury already beat twice with ease. But ironically, unlike Crawford, Fury received no backlash from old media. Instead, he received nothing but love and support, just to further expose the double...
Well, I'm not really sure if he received nothing but love and support, but you know what? Let me say this once again about Terence Bud Crawford. Because a certain amount of people are starting to now wonder why Terence Bud Crawford is getting so much criticism. Because he's not just getting criticism overall from quote-unquote old media. Which, yes, I do think, once again, they have racial double standards and double standards of their own. But they're not the only ones overall criticizing Terence Bud Crawford either. A lot of the LDBC is doing it. They've been doing it. And to a degree, they're somewhat correct. Because it's no offense against Terence Bud Crawford, but he could have made a lot of better decisions in his career. It just is what it is. For him claiming to be interested in fighting all these, decently great fighters at the welterweight division, he could have signed with the PBC a long time ago. All right, it just is what it is. Anyway.
Standards that's taken place in the sport of boxing, all because the yin and the yang, with the facts being laid out. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe below and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of AKHi.
But anyways, that's really about it for today. I just thought that was very particularly interesting. It'll probably be the last time that I talk about this conversation because I don't think that there's really much substance to it. I don't think that Terence Bud Crawford more than likely cheated in that fight. And I also don't believe that Tyson Fury, at least with his gloves, cheated against Deontay Wilder. So it is what it is. But anyways, that's really about it for today. I just thought that that'd be very interesting to talk about. And I'll talk to you all later.